You can't see, but I've got goosebumps like coming up around my ears under these headphones.
The virality of the video.
Wedding photographers and videographers are a little bit apprehensive.
But I got I think it's like 8.4 million on that.
Nobody goes from 1850 to 10k.
Because I send a voice message, the more likely to send a voice message back.
TikTok's like a strange blend between a YouTube and an Instagram.
They're expecting to see the $10,000 camera after they've seen the iPhone footage.
People do underestimate YouTubers.
1999 and 1950.
Mine was like that until about 6 months ago.
The person who's best to compare myself to is me.
We remove our opinion on all of the content.
Shock horror, my Insta360 caught the whole thing.
It's going to sound awful and probably get crucified for this.
Oh, yeah, something has happened once, but the police have come.
How's it going, guys? Jamie, how's it going?
What's going on? The nice
everyone...
new fancy intro there. Comment for everybody that loves the new intro.
I thought that we'll just add a bit of the podcast stuff. Getting a lot of comments about the podcast, and I appreciate all the kind words that you're all enjoying it. So I thought, do you know what? Rather than just having the same countdown timer every single week, let's make that minute a little bit more interesting for the loyal people who are on from the very, very first second. Jamie, today's live, we're going to be going over the 5 quick wins to get people more leads. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to check that I've got everything set up on here. I'll just let you kind of take over for a bit. This is where you want to start, and I'll make sure I've got everything set up here, mate.
Yeah. So I think for me, and we've talked about this quite a bit, just to get straight into the action. I'm going to stick my headphones in here. To get straight into the action, I think the first quick win that is really, really simple to do, and something that everybody can start implementing is to stop selling on your posts and stop talking about yourself. So we have to think of it like in the first instance, nobody really cares about us as a photographer or videographer, because people are hardwired to be selfish. It's actually a survival instinct. Their brain has to assimilate what is in it for them. It's why your brain's wired. It's like why you don't get distracted by everything that you walk past, because it's a neurological survival instinct. And I think that starting off things with award-winning videographer, X amount of experience, all that kind of stuff. Like, that comes later. That's a qualifier for later on. They want to see your work, and you need to talk about yourself first, and starting off posts with like discounts. What I think everyone knows what feelings around discounts in general, but starting off a post like that, what we need to do is hook them in with emotion, and anything that starts with you, or a discount, it short circuits emotion, or it makes it. And then from then on, it makes it extremely hard to trigger, or much harder to trigger at least. So I think for the first one, it's about stop talking about yourself and start talking about the customer. And I think the best way to put this, Billy, is that the customer. I think a lot of businesses, this is like a common mistake, but a lot of businesses put themselves and try to make themselves the hero of the story, if that makes sense. They try and make themselves like the Batman or the Luke Skywalker, but actually, if you flip the script, you as the business, as the service, you are not Batman. You're Alfred. You're the guide. You're guiding them towards their dream outcome. The customer is the hero of the story. So the customer is Batman and Luke Skywalker. Us as the service provider, as the business, we are Alfred the butler or Yoda. We're the people that are going to guide them to that dream outcome. And I think that's the best way to think about it. That's a really good one to kick off with.
I just think as well on the back of that, stop talking about yourself. Like, I don't think people do it in a way of like, oh, like I want to let everyone know about me. I think what people people default to thinking, right, they're coming to my website, I must let them know what I'm like as a wedding photographer or videographer, to kind of make yourself stand out from the other wedding videographers and wedding photographers. But when someone comes to your website and it's all about you, I'm an award winning this and I've done that and I shoot in this way, and you're going to get photos because I've done them in X, Y, and Z. I'd take you to these locations. It's all about kind of me. But you'll make yourself stand out straight away when you're talking in your copy, let's just say on your website, if you're talking about the couples who are getting married and how it's a benefit to them, you're going to make yourself stand out naturally because they're going to remember what they've read or what they've seen on your website. It's like, oh God, this guy over here, he's going to like create these lasting memories that I'll be able to relive anytime I want. He's going to capture moments that I missed at my wedding. And they're the types of things that are going to stick in couples' heads when they're surfing your website, they're interacting with your content. So I think it's a really good point to start with. And this is such a quick win and it's such a quick fix that everyone can go and do, because you can actually just go to your website now or go and spend 10 minutes on your social media platforms and just read what it is that you've been posting or what you've got on your website, or if you've been making video content when you talk to the camera, are you talking about yourself all the time? And if you are, no problem. Just make the improvement going forward and make this change and start making it about the couples who are getting married. Just got a couple of comments here. So it's Jacob. Hi, Jacob. How you doing? Thanks for jumping on, mate. I don't get this reference. He's saying he's a DC fan.
DC fan.
I don't get that reference. Jacob, can you explain? I think you said that when you were talking about Batman.
But Batman. Yeah. I'm not. That's just one of the things it's an analogy in my head that makes it easy for me to understand.
Adam is just saying, hey folks, just traveling but listening. Hi Adam, thanks for jumping on. Adam, thanks for doing the podcast the other week. If you haven't listened to his episode, which got released last Thursday, go and have a listen to that. It was great. DC is DC Comics.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a fan of DC, but I don't like the Batman thing was just for my simple brain. Yeah.
So moving on to this number 2, Jamie, on the 5 quick wins that can help you get you more wedding leads. And the first one was obviously talking about stop talking about yourself and stuff. And this one, number 2, is something that we've mentioned on the last 5 or 6 Facebook Lives in a row, but it's so important. And it's stop selling on your posts and stop selling on your content. Social media is not a platform to sell directly in the first instance. Yes, of course, there's times when you should be selling on your content. But when let's say someone's a cold audience, which means they've never really seen you before, if you slap them in the face with a sale post, come and book me now for £495. I'm nearly booked up, by the way, be quick. It's like, what? Hang on, you're discounting your prices to $495, but you're really nearly full. It doesn't make any sense, and people just see straight through it. You've got to think about how it is. Like, and I always say this as an example. It's like as soon as you walk into Curry's, you look at a TV, 2 seconds, someone's come over, can I help you? It's like straight away, you get your guard up, and that's what it's like on social media. Like I seen a good ad on social where it's actually by a marketing agency, and they're talking about people selling on the post, and they say, if you're trying to sell a house, and they walk in with just burst through someone's front door with a megaphone and says, do you want to buy a home? Are you selling a house? And it's like that kind of thing, isn't it? It's so what you've got to do in your content is stop selling and build up the trust and build up the engagement where they're like, do you know what? This guy's work's great. I want to go and see more. Or you're writing copy that puts them in the moment and think, yeah, do you know what? I want to have Billy or Jamie shooting me wedding. There's so many things you can do with that, Jamie, than actually selling.
Yeah. And you know that's what in the content and the ads as well. An organic post serves a different purpose than an ad. So sometimes it can still be posted, but have just little bits of different context around them. But I think that it's important to trigger their emotions, because that's what's going to make them buy. They're going to people buy with emotions, and then reason it with logic. So you'll hook them with the emotions, and then they'll start to try and make sense of the decision that they've kind of already made. So we want to make sure that we are showing things that trigger emotions. If you're talking about discounts and talking about the award that you've won or anything of that nature, it's not an emotional trigger to a prospective couple, or whoever it might be. So yeah, it's really, really important, and I think that it's overlooked and underestimated a lot.
And Adam's just saying that I think selling is mostly a drive to the bottom tactic, and we often see it with the lowest post. Yeah, I mean I feel like a lot of people in the industry write a very similar in a very similar way, and we often mention it. They talk about price and they talk about discount, but in the same sentence of talking about a discount and a really low price, starting from like £300, there's that follow message that talks about how you're nearly fully booked. And anyone who's nearly fully booked would never ever discount the pricing. So, and I understand why, like, if you don't come from like a marketing background and like or anything like that, it can be really easy just to fall into that mistake without really thinking about it. Like you think, oh, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to discount my prices, but to create a bit of urgency, I'm going to say that I'm nearly booked. But it stands out like a country mile when someone reads that. But not only that, it's a diluted message because everyone's saying it. Now, you might say, well, what happens if everyone starts doing the type of stuff that we're talking about, where we're benefits? And I've had this question before. But when you start understanding how to write copy and you lead with benefits and you're not selling and you're giving benefits to the bride if they booked you for the wedding, everyone has their own way of writing things, and you come up with so many different messages and so many different hooks, and there's so many ways to grab attention. So it's really important to start looking at what it is that you're actually saying on your social media content.
Yeah, and I think that point about copy as well, like you don't have to learn how to be like a professional copywriter, but as long as you learn how to, lead with emotional value, lead with a value that hooks and triggers that emotion, like, people want to see. Think about, that's why we always talk about TikTok and like videos that are already going viral on there, because it's a really good indicator of, they're viral for a reason, because people enjoy watching them and they trigger emotions. So like the same, like, dad reveals when the dad's the manly father finally breaks a tear because he sees his daughter in her wedding dress, or the groom's first look coming down the aisle. All of these things that just blow up is because they're triggering emotional moments, and that's what people want for their wedding. And you're showing your competence and authority in being able to provide that because you've already done it.
I mean, we're crossing over into 3 here, so I might as well say what point 3 was, Jamie, and you can kind of go back on what you were saying there, because obviously number 2 was about stop selling on posts, but number 3 was actually like writing headlines and writing sub-headlines and writing copies that leads with benefits that really captures their imagination, rather than the selling the kind of tied in together, where you can amalgamate the two together to come up with like I don't want to say a perfect post or a bit of copy, but you can really make it in your favor if you do this.
Yeah. And I think that on your website as well is such a big one. Like you want to make sure that your website headline, sub-headline, the copy talks about them. Even in your about me, it needs to be, why are they learning about you? It needs to link back to them. So for example, if you've been you've been a videographer, that I think an example from before was something like they've been a videographer too, they've worked with Sky Sports and ITV and all that kind of thing. And it's like, well, what use is that? So you can add on the end of that, bolster that with something like, I've worked for Sky Sports and ITV, so I've got a lot of experience in being in the right place at the right time. And now they're immediately able to connect that value, that sentence, and turns just a bland sentence into interest and value towards them and what it can do for them, because it's the only reason they're there.
One thing that I thought was really interesting, because I'm sure most people on the live are aware of this, that I'm like a wedding videographer as well, but Jamie isn't. So Jamie comes from like 100% like a marketing background. And I remember that just when we're talking about copy on website and stuff, in one of my packages, I had written on, this is really recent, I had on one of my packages that you got 2 videographers. And Jamie turned around to me in the office and went, so what? Jamie was like, well, what does that mean? And it wasn't until he pointed out, well, he's like, why would I want to have 2 videographers? And to everyone else in the industry, that is really, really straightforward. So Jamie said to me, he was like, well, why do you need to have 2 videographers? He was like, I still don't understand. I was like, oh, well, one can get the groom, one can get the bride. And to all of us in the wedding industry, that is super like obvious. But Jamie, who's never been married, was like, well, I don't know why would I want 2 of you if I've already got a photographer and I'm hiring a videographer? So little things like that, I think that was a brilliant point, Jamie. But little things like that is like, right, okay, go through your website, and if you had no idea of the wedding industry, like knowledge, terminology, it's not so much jargon, but you know what I mean, would it make sense to someone who had no idea? Because I think it's a really good task to do. And I just thought,
really good.
until you pointed that out to me, and it was only a few months ago when we were talking about the packages inside of the Wedding Business Accelerator, I didn't even question that 2 videographers would be a question.
Yeah, and it happens to every industry as well. And I think the best way to do it is to take broader statements and sentences and stuff like that, and just unpack it a little bit in a bit of an interesting way. So, like, even things like, when you're talking about, even if this is just because it's a bland example in my head, and like talking about being an award-winning photographer, for example, that comes way later down the line. But don't say I'm an award-winning photographer, because people could, somebody's nana could have given them an award and then they'll write on their poster. You got to just say I won the X award for, explain it. That's a bad example, but like if you go onto a website, right, and you go onto your website now, and not right now, but when you get the chance, go through your posts, go through your website, look at little things that you kind of assume that people know, and just unpack it a little bit and just be able to explain it a little bit further. So something like I'm trying to think of an example that's really going to hit home. The videographer one's a really good one. But something like being in your, what's that sentence that we were talking about the other day? I'm gonna go on to watch. I'm gonna find a live example. I'm going to go onto a random videography website. I'm not going to say who it is because they may be watching, they may not be. Right, this is random.
Just while Jamie's finding that, by the way, if anyone's wondering why that came up, Get Seen Get Booked Wedding Podcast. Hello, we're actually streaming this on the Get Seen Get Booked Wedding YouTube channel as well. So we're live inside of the group, but also on the YouTube channel at the same time. I see we've got a couple of people watching over on YouTube as well. So you might see these lives pop up in a couple of places. When Jamie's found that as well, don't do this now, but after, make sure that you go and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. And that's where the podcast. But not only that, we're going to start really showing short content. These lives are already like almost an hour nearly every week, which is great. We love doing the longer form stuff, but we're actually going to start posting shorter form tips and stuff on the YouTube channel as well. So make sure you follow the YouTube channel, Get Seen Get Booked, if you haven't done so already.
Yeah, so like I think to be like really like to break it down in terms of unpacking various things and making it a lot easier is like when saying something like create an amazing memory or amazing memories or an unforgettable day. Like just think about, right, what do you mean? What are amazing memories? What is that? Break that down and then write that instead. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's the same with the 2 videographers thing. Like, I knew why it was there, but it's like, right, so, but the other people, like people that haven't got a clue, they don't know. And if they do, you're forcing them to burn those mental calories that is actually, it's a little bit like, well, it is very much like burning real calories. They've got less to burn as they go through the rest of your site because they're sitting 2 videographers. Although it might take a few seconds, if they do it, because not a lot of them will, they'll, it's a lot of effort that they shouldn't have to go through. And also, you don't want them to do that because they might not actually come to the right conclusion of what 2 videographers mean. Because kind of like the point I was saying is making with it as well is that some people have a big objection. I'm sure people watching this of photographers and videographers have probably had it. Is like the worry that the photographer or videographer is going to be in the way or going to get in the way of a lot. And then when you start seeing 2, they think, oh Christ, there's another one to worry about. So you have to really make sure that they come to the conclusion that we want. And it starts with unpacking things like stop saying like just 2 videographers or stop saying amazing memories like wherever you can, and try to unpack it and literally paint that picture in their mind. Because when I say amazing memories, everybody thinks of different things. In fact, most people won't even think of anything. They'll just make sense of the phrase. But if I start saying, the moment your dad seen you in your dress, or the grooms when you looked over your shoulder and seen your bride coming down the aisle for the first time, like that literally starts to paint pictures in people's minds, especially those that are getting married and have a wedding booked and stuff like that. It's much more powerful stuff.
Yeah. Adam's just saying this is about the awards. He's just saying I won an egg spoon race, so I am award winning. Everyone is award winning, but where have all these awards come from? Yeah, the validity of awards in the wedding industry is definitely a bit questionable. Like I said, a lot of the time I might launch the Get Seen Get Booked one and just have that on my website. So they don't really I do you know what it is though? I do understand, right? Like when people, some of the awards like are quite reputable, and it's like I understand that if someone has won an award, they'll want to let people know about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you shouldn't be leading with it, because in the first contact or the first couple of contacts that the bride and groom, the couples who are getting married, have with you, they don't really care at that stage that you're award winning. They're going to that might help later down the line. Once, first of all, they want to decide, can you do the job that you've said you're going to do? Are you able to capture the moments? Are you going to get the wedding? Are you going to get the photos, the videos? And then later down the line, the award winning might help just build like with your credibility or like your authority in the space, because they have no idea if the award that you've won is any like you. So they might come to me, who has the best wedding award that's really reputable, and then they could see Jamie's award winning that he's completely made up and his mom give it to him. Right. And then, but they won't know the difference between the two if they've got two unique names. So you've got to, if you are going to talk about like awards and stuff, I think you've got to go into a little bit more depth and also talk about the benefit of having it, which means you will get X, Y, and Z. So it's definitely something that comes in later. And it is something people have across the top of the website. It's probably one of the most common first introductory phrases, headlines that someone's hit with on a website. I'm an award-winning town photographer.
Yeah. I think the relevance as well as people it's much like the two videographers thing, going back to that, it's very easy to forget that some awards can be completely irrelevant to a bride and groom. So like if I was to split test, right? If I was to split test the same, like an image, let's say I'm a videographer, right? Let's say it's a videographer. I was to split test a video that talked about how somebody, that was a show reel, and it had Steven Spielberg or Martin Scorsese awards attached to it. And then I split tested it against Brides Magazine awards for this. This has won the Brides Magazine awards. This video has won like a venues award, whatever it is. Probably 60 to 70% of people are going to edge towards the Brides Magazine thing because that's them. That's them. They're not the industry is. Other videographers might care about the Scorsese's and the Spielberg awards, but the brides don't. They care about what's in it for them. And if the Brides Magazines and the people that are important to them in their life, if they prefer something, then that's a better recommendation for them.
Yeah.
So relevance is really important.
And Paul's just saying, get two videographers in case one of us can't be asked. I'm sure no one's like that in this group when shooting a wedding. I think we're kind of tied in 3 and 4 there, because 3 and 4 were both about like website and copy and talk about yourself and don't talk about yourself, make it about the couples and stuff. But the, number 5 for the quick wins, right? And by the way, if you've got any questions about this, please get them in the comments. I know that we always answer a lot of questions on these Facebook Lives and YouTube Lives. Get the questions in and I'm going to answer them for you, or Jamie's going to answer them for you. But number 5, this is probably one of the biggest mistakes I think people make a lot. It's make it clear on your website what action you want them to perform. So if you've got a landing page or website, what is the goal of that landing page and what is it that you want them to do? Because if, let's say we're talking about paid ads, first of all, right? We'll get into like people just finding you organically and stuff in a minute. But let's say you're running paid ads and you send them to your homepage. The first thing they hit with is I'm an award-winning videographer in South Shields. Then the next bit, it's about me. This is what I do, and I'm this type of videographer, and I've done this and I've done that. Then you get to a bit. Now we'll finally get to a bit about the bride and groom, the people who are getting married or previous weddings that you've shot. You say, view me packages. Then you scroll down a little bit more, and it's like, oh, view some of me wedding films. And then underneath that, it's like, well, actually get in touch with me. And underneath that, it's like, follow me on social media. And the people who are looking at your website just like, the confused mind never buys. They don't perform the action that you want. So this is why we recommend either having specific landing pages where you drive traffic to, or ideally, if it's not coming from paid traffic, let's say it's organic and they're just finding you on a Google search, the chances are it's your homepage that's going to come up. Well, when someone's serving your homepage, when they're viewing your homepage,
I thought you were going to say surfing the internet.
surfing the internet,
Surfing the web.
when they're surfing the web. So when someone's on I've lost my train of thought now. When someone's on your homepage, it's all good. When someone's on your homepage, right? What do you want them to do? Do you want them to go to your packages? Do you want them to go to your wedding films? Do you want them to go to the contact page? You need to be clear on what it is that you want to do. Do not give them multiple actions to do. So my journey is Facebook ads. They click the link, they go to my wedding films page. From your wedding films, the only button that they, apart from the menu across the top of it, obviously, but the only buttons when they're scrolling is to go to my contact page from there. Then once I've got the information, then I want them to have that look at my packages and stuff. And you can test different routes. There's no problem with that, but you must have one clear call to action for them to perform.
Yeah, that's really important. I think there's a lot of. Well, what do you say? What do you think the most common ones that are confusing? I think it's things for me. It's things what I've seen is like there'll literally be a button under the headline, or 3 buttons under the headline, or I've even seen it where some call to actions are hidden. Like you've got to work hard to find it because people treat the website too much like a catalog. I think it's important that you wireframe your website for success to guide people to becoming a lead.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that we haven't really touched on is, and it is about quick wins to get more leads. And I haven't got this on the 5 points, but this is, I'll class this as like a bit of a bonus one, just because we're talking about websites and stuff. Is you need to check your website loading speed, because if someone's coming to your website, doesn't matter where they've come from, Google, Facebook, TikTok, organically, any channel, email, it doesn't matter. If your website loads really slowly, let's say it takes longer than 3 seconds to load, they're going to think there's a problem and they're just not going to wait around. People are super impatient these days. So it's important that you've got a fast loading website. And this really could prevent you from getting leads. So one quick win to get more leads is check your website speed. There's things like GTmetrix. There are Google Page Insights. You can never really beat a manual test, but the only thing that you need to be mindful of if you're doing a manual test is that if you've already been on your website previously, the saved cookies are going to help it load. The cached cookies are going to help it load quicker. So you're best off checking it inside of incognito mode or from a different device that you haven't been on. So just a bonus one there, because it's often one that we measure traffic loss and stuff on web from ads to websites, and website speed performance is one of the biggest indicators of traffic loss. It's one of the biggest reasons for traffic loss, because people just click the ad, the website doesn't load, and then they're off. So that's a little bonus one to think about. Go and check your website speed. Is it fast? Is it slow? And if it is slow, try and make it quicker.
Yeah. Really important one. That's all happened now. I end up thinking of 10. I almost said 5.
Yeah. Well, at least we've done the 5 anyway. Then we can just hire in any bonus ones. Anyone got bonuses? Anyone got any questions? And see, we've got one from Adam. Has anyone got any questions that you'd like us to go over? Get them in the comments now and we will answer them for you. Yeah, it is Adam. Adam's just saying another one is say your location. Too many people have UK and Europe. Target your audience where you want to work. I mean, if you're talking like from an ads perspective, obviously you can just select from paid ads. You can just select the location that you want to talk, that you want to work in. Basically, you can like select South Shields, and then you can pick like a kilometer radius around the area. I mean, for your website perspective, I mean, it depends on what you want to do on this one, I suppose, isn't it? Because if people do want to go UK and Europe and destinations, like I suppose you'd probably have like a destination section on your website, which makes it really clear. I suppose there's no harm in stating where you are based in terms of like, I'm a Northeast videographer, but I cover the whole of UK. Like if you want to give people that information, that's fine. But I feel like that information, again, needs to come kind of after the people are hooked in and interested in you. Like I would be serving the benefits first before we tell them that information.
Yeah.
Sky, hi Sky, how you doing? Thanks for jumping on. Sky's just saying, having a video play at the top of the website seems to be normal on a homepage, but does it slow down a load time? It can. It 100% can. It's happened to me before. It depends on where the website's being hosted. So a lot of people will use something like Vimeo or YouTube to pull it in. Now, if there's any server issues on any of those sites, that's going to obviously have a negative impact when it's getting pulled in. I use Vimeo. I found it to be fairly quick. I was just giving you an example. A lot of the time, people will upload the website video directly to the website server. So it's actually sitting on the server where your website's hosted. Then it goes on to whatever server you're using, how quick it can actually load it up. So there's a few different factors. The answer is absolutely yes, it can have an impact, but there are certainly ways that you can have a small video in your header where it loads really quickly. Things like reducing the file size, like a lot of people will export in 4K, and then they'll want to use a 4K video on the header of like the hero image of the hero section of the website, the top of the website. But there's no need really to have a 4K video on your website as the header. Most people probably don't even have 4K monitors. And most people, if they're looking on a computer or the phones, like 1080p, even 720 really is going to look absolutely fine. But what I would say on that is, obviously, the smaller the resolution, the smaller the file size. So just check to see what the quality looks like yourself and make that decision. But to answer your question, yes, it can slow it down, but you can definitely fix it at the same time. Is there anything, any bonus points we've not gone over, Jamie, just while we're waiting for more questions to come in? What other tips can we talk about? I mean, about getting leads, about quick wins to get more leads. What type of things do you think people aren't doing?
I think the ones, so as like a bit of a recap, is like selling way too hard, talking about themselves and not talking about emotional triggers or emotional hook points, and just talking about themselves. That's going to just short circuit most chances that you'll have. And I think you know, I know we talked about this beforehand about like creating consistent content, and we didn't want to. It's not really a quick win because obviously consistency takes time, but being consistent is important, because in the same way that being, you know, when you're running ads, we had a question in the group about earlier about you know, is it better for a photographer to use candid images or portrait images in ads? And the answer is always like both, because people will need several touch points. Mm-hmm. So you'll never just have an ad that one ad will smash, and or seldom will you ever have an ad that will smash. It can happen, but it's, you know, you want to be giving them several touch points. It's the same reason people browse your website and they'll go away and come back and go away and come back. So making sure that you are being consistent and with your content is an important one. Yes, it's not a quick win; it's a little bit longer game, but that consistency will compound and pay off. And I think that if you're posting 4 or 5 times a week, it's going to compound quicker than you would think.
Mm-hmm. And I know, like, you can, or even overnight, you can get like a big reach. I know, like, a lot of the time, if you get a reel that goes viral, it doesn't always or very rarely turns into like leads and stuff, even if you get a huge reach of like thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions. But what you're talking about there about compounding, that's definitely something to take into consideration. But if you do get a reel that goes viral, or you get quite a good engagement on it, it means that you can turn that into an ad as well. And sometimes, although ads, you can't just think of ads as quick wins, sometimes it can give you a bit of a head start on your ads if you know that you've had something that works organically as well. Like, of course, if you're running ads, it doesn't have to work organically. The way we set up the Thunderdome system will allow the Facebook algorithm to do all that testing and all that good stuff for us. But it's definitely something to take into consideration, because I think consistency for your posting on social media and your content, because of the type of game that we're in, it's an important one to get hold of. I mean, it's an important one to do. Like, people expect to see content. This is why sometimes when, like, I'm just going a little bit off track, but just when we're talking about ads, people don't always perform the action that we want them to perform. Like, someone inside of the Wedding Business Accelerator, I got a lead the other day from an ad, and he's actually created a specific landing page for the ad. Now, the lead came through the old landing page that's still active if you find them organically. And this is because people don't always perform the action that we want on an ad. What they actually done was, rather than clicking the learn more button on the ad, they went to his Facebook or Instagram page, they binged on some content, they've then gone away and then come back to his website within that week after clicking on the ad. And what this means is, to me point, is that this is why posting organically or consistently is important, because they went away and checked his socials or checked his website before actually becoming a lead, and they didn't click the link on the ad that we want them to. So having consistency with your organic stuff is a good way, and it can be a quick way of improving your lead generation, your lead numbers.
And I think it will also not just bring you more leads, but it's very likely to help you qualify more of those leads into bookings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And also, don't forget, I mean, this isn't really like a quick win, but it can once you've got your leads and stuff. And again, I know this is about like the 5 quick wins to get more leads, which we've touched on. But as we're talking about leads, make sure that once you have got that lead, that you've got some sort of like follow-up process. Like, we'll do a separate live on your follow-up process and what happens after someone has become a lead. But you need to make sure that you're phoning them, you're texting them, you're sending them emails, just to nurture them that little bit more, because people need, not only do people need multiple touch points to become a lead, people also need multiple touch points to become a booking at the same time. So it's all these different types of things that you can put into play to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, like kind of turn the wheel and getting things in motion and making those couples become leads and hopefully bookings for you as a photographer or videographer. It's all about you grabbing attention and getting more leads. Do we have any questions? Do I have anything anyone would like us to cover before we wrap up the Facebook Live? We're more than happy to stay on, by the way, but if we've got any questions, I would absolutely love to answer them. Just while I'm waiting for some questions to come in, if you haven't subscribed to the Get Seen, Get Booked Wedding podcast, you can listen to that on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It is on other things like Google Podcasts and Amazon Podcasts and things like that, but we only really push the 3 major ones. But if you haven't subscribed to that, please do it. And also, please leave a review. If you like the podcast, give it 5 stars, give it a review. Let's just help it get pushed out to more people in the wedding industry. It's gone really well so far. There's a new episode getting released every Thursday. We actually changed the release date from a Friday to a Thursday, so it's now going to be a Thursday. So we've got another episode getting dropped for you guys tomorrow. So make sure that you keep an eye out for that. I will post it inside of the group and send you an email if you are on the email list.
I feel like we should give the live watchers a sneak peek, because they've made it this far. We've got quite a few people that are at 37 minutes deep. We should let them in on the sneak peek of who's on the podcast tomorrow.
Yeah, well, on tomorrow's podcast, we have Emma Wilson, who you would have seen in a lot of the videography groups. She's a destination videographer, and she's had some incredible bookings and does some incredible video work. So that's who we are going to be running with tomorrow. So make sure that you tune in and get that. That is privy information, because we've never shared before who's going to be on beforehand. But we can start
just for you.
We can start doing that. I think it's a real. Yeah, it's an exclusive for everyone. Who's this guy just saying, thanks. Oh, I'm clicking on the wrong one. She's saying, thanks, guys. Missed the start. We'll watch the replay. Yeah, no problem at all. These are always up. The replays are always uploaded as well. So as soon as this is finished, it goes into the private Facebook group, but it also goes onto the Get Seen, Get Booked YouTube channel. And like I said, please subscribe to that, because we're going to be putting up like some 5-minute, 10-minute videos for like things that you can implement to improve your wedding business. We're really here to help you guys out. Any topics you want us to cover as well, ask away and we'll do it in a live, or we might make a video about it. So feel free to do that. Jamie, anything you want to wrap up? Anything we haven't covered? I think we've already done a bit of a recap anyway.
Yeah. I think to start taking action on these quick wins and give yourself a better chance, give yourself a better fighting start. And then, yeah, aside from that, make sure you watch out for the drop of tomorrow's podcast episode, and it's going to be a doozy.
Nice one, guys. Well, thanks very much for jumping on, and we'll see you in the group and also on the live next Wednesday. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.